Today, we will use the architecture diagram on the screen to explain and walk through the complete process from part number application, production, to final shipment. At the beginning, let's assume we have a new product today. Based on the results of R&D development, it can be broken down step by step into semi-finished products and the raw materials required. This will generate a complete bill of materials, expanding from finished goods to raw materials to create a complete BOM. When we apply for a new part number, we will use the inventory module to create the part number program to establish the new part numbers required in the BOM. Once we have the finished product and the part numbers for semi-finished products and raw materials, the next step is to build the BOM structure layer by layer. This will use the product structure module for the BOM creation function to include all materials or semi-finished products, and assign them one by one to the part numbers of semi-finished and finished products. This creates a complete BOM. To produce this finished product, it needs to go through certain manufacturing processes, also using the product structure module to define its routing, which is called routing. At this point, we have a complete BOM and routing ready to use. Next, the sales department will start selling. The sales department will obtain information from the client side, or make their own market estimates to generate guesses about future sales quantities. This is the so-called forecast. Through the sales order module program, input the sales forecast for the coming months. After maintenance is complete, the system can use ERP to calculate material requirements. Based on the calculation results, materials that have reached their lead time can proceed to requisition and procurement to purchase the required raw materials from suppliers. Therefore, after ERP, the system will generate a set of planned orders, which is the so-called procurement plan. As long as the lead time for raw materials is reached, a PR will be issued. PR stands for purchase requisition. The purchase requisition will then enter the procurement module. In the procurement module, if the part number has never been purchased before, procurement will look for manufacturers capable of producing it to conduct inquiries, comparisons, and negotiations. Once the purchase price is determined, procurement staff can convert these material requisitions into purchase orders and issue them to suppliers. Raw material suppliers may be domestic or overseas. If overseas, once the supplier completes production, they will ship the materials to our factory via sea or air transport based on the agreed delivery terms. When raw materials arrive at our factory from overseas, the import system module will be used to input relevant data for these materials purchase orders, so they can be inspected upon entering the factory, and for subsequent AP payments. When materials arrive at the factory, the supplier's materials first enter IQC status. Once IQC inspection is approved, the quantity of these materials will be transferred to our inventory account. Procurement can then request payment for these inspected and approved materials on behalf of the supplier. Finally, in the accounting module, it becomes accounts payable status, becoming the company's accounts payable. At this point, the warehouse gradually accumulates raw materials needed for future production. Next, the sales department starts taking orders. Once the sales department receives an order, they will input the order products relevant information into the ERP system. After the order is entered and processed through ERP calculations, the system will know which part numbers need to be produced. Since it's now a confirmed order shipment requirement, the production management team will begin reviewing the production plan suggested by ERP calculations. These production plans, after review by production management, will generate work orders for the part numbers that need to be produced. Once the work orders are issued, production management will schedule production plans based on capacity and material availability, and arrange the production schedule. However, some products may require outsourced production. This will involve the subcontract module to issue those outsourced work orders, allowing external vendors to assist us with production. According to the schedule, when the work order reaches the production date, production management will issue it to the warehouse for material preparation, then hand it over to the production line for manufacturing. The products completed in production will undergo inspection by quality control personnel before being sent to the warehouse, awaiting further instructions from the sales department to arrange shipment details. The sales department confirms with the customer based on the order's ETD regarding deposits or payments. After receiving the payment, the sales team proceeds to issue a shipping notice. The warehouse staff picks the goods according to the shipping notice. Finally, through the export system, the export system performs the inventory deduction process. Lastly, after the goods leave the premises, warehouse staff deduct the corresponding shipment from the ERP system. Then, the accounting staff can use accounts receivable to record the transaction and verify payment within the time frame to confirm whether it has been received. This is the entire process. Since the full process is lengthy, we break it down into 4 main cycles. To introduce the details of these cycles, these 4 major cycles are: first, establishing part numbers, BOM, and routing, known as the R&D cycle. Second, the sales team enters the forecast into the system. Then, the sales team inputs orders into the system. Extending to the operations related to ERP, we define this as the sales and production cycle. Production management, based on MRP or LRP results, converts planned orders into purchase requisitions and transfers the documents to the procurement module for issuance to suppliers, known as the procurement cycle. The main purpose of the procurement cycle is to convert received purchase requisitions into purchase orders issued to suppliers. To proceed with material procurement, based on the delivery terms in the purchase orders, raw materials are sent to the factory for incoming material inspection and warehousing. This completes the procurement cycle. Finally, production management issues work orders to process these raw materials or semi-finished products through the factory production line, ultimately producing finished goods for warehousing. Of course, this process also includes inspection procedures by quality control personnel. This part is known as the manufacturing cycle. Let's take a closer look at these 4 cycles and the responsibilities of each module and the scope they impact. First, let's look at the R&D cycle. For the R&D cycle, the main functions or departments involved are R&D, PM, and the production technology unit, along with manufacturing units. Alright, after R&D completes product development, they will apply for part numbers and create the BOM. Through the PM department, the parameters for product materials are entered into the system, including the BOM part. Additionally, the production routing part is established by the production technology and manufacturing units. The programs for creating this data are categorized under the inventory module and the product structure module. Their responsibilities include establishing part numbers and entering BOM-related information, as well as creating routings. If there are design changes in the future, an ECR will be initiated, using the engineering change request to modify the BOM or routing-related content. This is the R&D cycle. Next, let's take a look at the sales and production cycle. For the sales and production cycle, from the sales team establishing the forecast to production management issuing work orders, arranging production schedules, to finished goods warehousing, and the operations related to order deduction and shipment. This cycle affects the following units: sales, production management, PMC, warehouse with H and shipping, import-export departments. The modules used include sales order, LRP, lot requirement planning, and the modules for work order creation and outsourcing. Manufacture order, subcontract module, the export module used for shipping, export system, and accounts receivable module. The main functions of this cycle are to handle the sales teams, forecasts for future sales quantities, and to process sales orders, sales order, shipping notices, and issuing accounts receivable, among other tasks. These are the contents covered in the sales and production cycle. Next, we will generate procurement plans for materials through LRP. After review by production management, purchase requisitions enter the procurement cycle to be converted into purchase orders. The units affected here include production management, PMC, purchasing department, QA, IQC incoming material inspection, and warehouse operations related to receiving materials. The modules used in this process include lot requirement planning, LRP, purchasing module, import system module, and inventory module, inventory, and finally, the accounts payable module, accounts payable. The operations here involve generating purchase requisitions, then procurement generating purchase orders, and for raw materials, if sourced from overseas, there will be customs-related data to fill out, including exchange rate details, and incoming material inspection. After inspection is complete, warehouse staff shelves the materials, and an AP voucher can be issued. This completes the procurement cycle. This is the procurement cycle. Finally, once materials are fully prepared, based on the production schedule, production management will issue these production work orders, allowing the warehouse to prepare materials for the work orders and hand them over to the production line for manufacturing operations. The units affected include production management, PMC, manufacturing units, MFG. The production period includes inspections by quality control personnel, and the warehouse receiving these semi-finished and finished products. The modules used include manufacture order, subcontract module, and the functions of the inventory module. The tasks handled include issuing work orders, and in the system, performing inventory transactions related to material issuance or warehousing. For these documents, and quality control will take on FQC and OQC tasks. Up to this point, we've covered the entire process, from establishing part numbers to completing production and shipping. We've broken it down into 4 main cycles to present the process, and introduced each cycle one by one. This concludes our content for today. Thank you all.